Today we're going to unbox this. It's already unboxed. Hey everybody, welcome. If this is your first time here, my name is Roy and we talk about lasering and sublimation. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm really glad to have you. It's not often that a subject on this channel has to do with sublimation and lasers, but I think we got one today. We're going to talk about this VEVOR Hat Press. VEVOR. If you're into sublimation and you haven't done any hat patches, you definitely need to do it. If you're into lasering, I'm sure you have probably either done it or thought about doing the laser leather and leatherette hat patches. This will work for both. We're going to talk about this machine, this one in particular. I'm also going to talk to you about the different buckets, or at least where I feel the different buckets of hat presses are. On the one end, you've got the $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 presses that have a heated top and bottom. They're very automatic. They do a whole lot of stuff. They're pretty phenomenal. And if you're doing 20, 30, 40, 50 hats a week or a day, you absolutely probably need to invest in that. If you're doing one hat a week, 2 or 3 a month, there are small hat presses that you can get. I did a review on one a few months back. It's a great little press if you're doing a couple of hats a week, maybe 3 or 4 a month. And then there's that middle bracket of hat presses that run between $90 and $200 and will let you crank out a good number of hats per week and it not be too much of a pain. This is where this press falls. I'll tell you, when I first started doing sublimation hat patches, I wasn't doing very many. I did 3 or 4, and then a month later I did a couple, and then a month later maybe I did 5. When I started doing the lasering, pretty quickly I got into the leatherette hat patches. And initially I only sold a couple a week, but then I started ramping up a little bit, and now I'm probably making about 10 to 12 a week. Not a lot, but it's enough that I needed to have something other than that little handheld hat press. Okay, act like you haven't seen it and let me get it out of the box. This hat press came out of the box almost exactly like this. There was a tie wrap that held this closed, and these 4 rubber bottoms were in a little baggie, and I had to put them on. Very simple but informative, like 2-page manual. I will tell you, the brains of this are pretty much the same as any other heat press, hat press, mug press, whatever. These rubber feet were a little difficult to get on because I had to use a nut. They didn't have the threads in the metal. And so you have to get up in there, and it was a bit of a pain in the butt. So this thing is pretty much ready to go out of the box. The only potential, I don't want to say issue, but one of the things that I believe I'm going to need to work with is this platen. And most hat presses have this issue. This is really flat, and oftentimes hats will curve just a little bit, and so a little bit of air gets under the between the hat and the platen. It's not so much air as is space, and then you start pushing down and you'll get little wrinkles in the hats. And so there are a lot of different things that can go on top of this, cloth. We're going to experiment with a few things, but you got to kind of play around with that if you're using one of these to come up with something that will help that hat fit perfectly so that there's no space underneath it between it and the platen. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's pretty much an issue with almost all hat presses. Maybe the $2,000 ones don't have that issue, although I have heard some issue that you just got to be real careful with your pressure, and pressure does have a lot to do with it. But with these and with the less expensive models, there's always a potential issue with that. So we're going to deal with that though. I have a very unscientific way of determining if I should purchase a piece of equipment. It's probably not a way I would recommend, and again, it's very unscientific, but I'll take well, let me give you an example. Not too terribly long ago, I had the opportunity to test out some Cyclone ink, which, by the way, it's phenomenal. But in order to do that, I needed to get a printer, and so I decided to get the Canon ET 2800, I think. EchoTank 2800. It was $200. So the way I looked at it is, if I could sell 200 tumblers, I'd be taking $1 away from my profit per tumbler, and I'd pay for the printer. And so it was a pretty easy sell. Obviously, the Cyclone ink is in that printer still, and I'm printing away way past 200 tumblers with that thing, and it's going great. But it's kind of the same thing with this. I'm not really sure what they're charging for this. It does vary in price. I'm going to say $125 to $140 is probably where you're going to what you're going to pay. I will leave a link in the description for this hat press. And by the way, full disclosure, VEVOR did send me this hat press to test out with the understanding that there would be no bias towards them for me getting this machine. I tried cloth, I tried a sponge, I tried that Radiance magic eraser, and they all work to some degree, but I had my wife, she was out and about, and I asked her to pick up the actual magic erasers because I wanted rectangular padding, and she couldn't find that, but she did find these, and they're pretty much the same thing, right? The magic eraser type rectangular foam. But here's what I found out as I started playing around with it. The height is going to be the same on the edges as it is in the center, and I need a little bit more in the center. I know that pressure will push down the sides, but I wanted something that had a little bit more in the center. So I took one of these, I went out to my garage, and I went on my bandsaw, and I cut the edges off of them. So it looks like that. Now, this isn't pretty, but I put it on here and tested it, and I'm going to put a little cloth over it and maybe tape it down. But I think this is going to be what will work for me. Let's try it out. Actually, before we turn the machine on, I did want to show you really quickly how I put this foam piece on. I laid a piece of very dirty cloth down, and then I'll just take some masking tape. I'm not sure if the masking tape will hold, but that's what we're going to start with. And I set it down and then wrapped it around underneath here. Do another piece real quick. And once I think that's good, yeah, is that good? That's a good start. Then I'm going to take this top piece and just wrap over it, so at least it covers the tape. All right, let's turn it on. And I haven't looked at the directions yet, but my guess is it's going to be very similar to most of these. So right now it looks like the time is 35 seconds. Let's try to push that down. Let's try to time 30. I'm going to do 20 seconds on my press. Okay. And then temperature, I'm going to do 300. If I hold it down, will it go? Yeah. .300 and hit temperature again. So I want to press the hat at 300 degrees for 20 seconds, but I'm also going to do a press without the patch just to warm the hat up a little bit at the same 300 degrees for 20 seconds. So let's let this heat up and then we'll try our first hat. It has come up to temperature, 300 degrees for 20 seconds. So what I want to do is set this on here, and it looks good. I'm going to push it down. That's pretty tight. So you know what? I'm going to hold it because I'm not sure that that's not too much pressure on the patch, on the hat. Okay, let me lift it up. It's pretty good. I can see a little bit of where the foam was. I'm going to use this little patch. Not always, but I often forget to peel the backing off. So I'm going to set that on there, and the heat should, no, it's not. I don't know if that's hot enough. Is that hot enough? Yeah, it's hot. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of paper, put that down, and we are going to press this down. Now, what I should have done was use some heat tape to hold it, and I didn't. So we'll see if I lucked out or if I should have used the heat tape. All right, let's see what it looks like. Man, it looks pretty darn good. What do you think? Looks pretty, I should have used heat tape. See how it's a hair off? But it's on there pretty good. So I should have used heat tape. I didn't. It's a little crooked, or maybe it's the wine. I don't know. Okay, let's try another hat. We'll do a Richardson this time. I'll lift this up, set the back of the hat underneath the little wire, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it up in here. Looks pretty good. Yeah, the only challenge I see is that that sponge doesn't go all the way back, so what I might end up doing is cutting another piece and putting it on the back side. We'll try one more to see if it needs that or not. Okay, so this time I did add a little bit of heat tape. Let's make sure we take the backing off. I'm using Hide Bond Leatherette, which I absolutely love. We'll take this and set it and try to center it a little bit better than that last one. And I do like using a little piece of paper to keep any ink or any markings to get on the heating element. So I'm not, okay, that's all the way down. That's really tight. So I'm a little nervous that it's going to mess with the hat, but I am going to have to figure out a way to make that where it can go down and lock. Let's see how that looks. Oh, it looks good. Looks good. Let's check it out. What do you think? I can see just a little bit. It's not bad, but I can see just a hair right there where the top of the sponge was. And I don't think I should have pushed it all the way down. I did use a little bit of heat tape. I can peel that heat tape off, and that doesn't look too shabby. Not too shabby at all. To wrap up, I can start by saying I absolutely love this. I was able to knock out quite a few hats in a very, very, very short time, much quicker than when using a handheld hat press. Now, I can't compare this to an $1,800 press, and I probably won't, because I probably won't get an $1,800 press. I just don't do that much volume. For 8, 10, 12, even maybe 20 a week, this thing has really, really impressed me. Now, with all platens, hat press platens, there is a little bit of an issue, and it was no different with this. I did cut out a little piece of a magic eraser type foam, and it worked well. I think I'm going to go back and cut out another piece and tape them together, at least the width of this, or the depth of this platen, and then that way I don't stand the risk of getting a little bit of a line in the hat. So here are the ones that I did. I did this one. It came out fantastic, and I'm going to save this one a second. This one came out fantastic. Save this for a second. And then here is the Sublimation patch hat that I did on a different type of hat. My wife loves these hats. I don't even know where I got the hat itself, but this is a Sublimation patch. It worked wonderfully on this hat. Matter of fact, I'll probably go back and make some more. These are really wonderful, and you can put anything on them if you do sublimation. The challenge is this weeding. It does take a few minutes. If I could figure out how to weed a little quicker, I'd be all over these, but they come out really great, and it's certainly a slightly different audience of people that like these. I do want to share a couple of final ones though. This one, and I did put it a little bit low on the hat. My mistake, not the press's mistake. But I did this one because it's pretty wide, and I was wondering if the press would heat these edges up, and it heated them up wonderfully. So this one looks like it slid just a little bit, but that would have been, no, that might be the tape. Anyway, it worked quite well on that. And then this one I did because it's a little bit taller than normal, and I wanted to make sure that the heating element would reach up high, and it certainly did that well as well. So I'm very, very happy with this. The only thing, the platen, I've got to play around with. Oh, I did get these. My wife got these at a Harris Teeter. It's a grocery store. I don't know if you have any in your area, but they're going to work wonders because there's a whole bunch of them. And I am going to figure out I've got a couple of ideas on how to make this better, so I'm going to play around with it, and then we'll do another video on this down the road once I've got it honed in and have a couple of other things I think I'm going to try. Quick update, I did a few more hats and I ended up adjusting the time and temperature. My new time and what I believe works best is 320 degrees for 40 seconds. And that is what I'm sticking with now. By adjusting that time and temperature and pre-pressing the hat for 40 seconds, it gave enough heat to the hat that I could lay the patch on the hat and it would stick enough for me to be able to close it and not need heat tape, which is a good thing because after further inspection on those hats that I did with the heat tape, I could see a little bit of a tape impression into the leatherette. Part of that was probably because I was using such tight pressure, but I ended up not needing to use the tape. I won't use tape for any of these. I'll now use that adjusted time and temperature of 320 degrees for 40 seconds. Seems to work fantastic. Back to the show. The press is amazing. I'm really happy with it. It was very quick to learn. I didn't have to learn anything. I turned it on. It works. The brains work like the brains on most any of these presses. Again, the challenge with the little feet, getting them in was a little bit of an issue. And I didn't realize these were suction cups. So when I set it on this table, it didn't move. So that's why I actually have it on this large board so I could slide it around a little bit for the video. That's a great thing because that way you're not going to have it slide around when you're using it. But for me, I needed to put it on this. Fantastic machine. I do highly, highly recommend it. If you don't have one and you're interested in getting one, definitely check the description for my affiliate link. It won't cost you any more, and it's a great way to help support this channel. I'll also include a couple of other things that I used in this video, and I'll also include in the description the video that I did a while back on sublimating hat patches, if you want to take a look at that. But when you look at that, assume I'm using this because this is what works big time. Now, anyway, I think that's about it. Works great, love it. If you don't have one, I highly recommend it. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. Click that notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out. And if you like this video, definitely click the thumbs up button. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Definitely subscribe. Hey, thank you much. Thank you much. Thank you much. Thank you much. If you're new to this channel, I'm going to talk about this VEVOR Hat Press, and I'm going to let you know if you should get it or not. Get it or not. They're not. Hey everybody, welcome. If this is your... This hat press came out of the box. And I'm all... But the color, what the color? But nothing else has changed.